All right, we're doing it. Hey guys, it's good to have you on board. This is my first podcast, so I've decided to grab one of the brothers, Reegan, to just kick things off and well, see where to from here and how I'm going to roll these things going forward. So, bit of trial and error today, guys. So just bear with us. I'll move my mouse out of the way. So yeah, Reeks, why don't you introduce yourself to the partner out there, bro? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
All right. Yeah, sweet. Kia ora, everyone. So thanks for having me here, Faz. So my name's Reegan Ngawaka. I'm the older but not bigger brother of Farron Ngawaka. So originally a Bay boy, kind of born and raised in Hawke's Bay, born and bred. Kind of ventured out quite a bit. Did my massive OE, kind of down to Wellington, and been down here for the last 2 decades now.
You
But
know,
I
bro.
still call yeah, that was the OE to me. Coming from Napier and going down to Wellington, they had buildings down here that had more than 10 stories. Uh, so it was a bit of a culture shock. Kind of a bit of a home kind of grown guy, when it comes to Hawke's Bay. Hawke's Bay was kind of like the life, and then moving down here started a whole new life. And yeah, I guess a wee bit more around my current setup. So for me, what do I do? Currently I work for the Emergency Services for New Zealand. So my job is a team leader, or a people leader, as we like to be called now, and it's managing a team. Well, when I say managing, probably helping a team, um, you know, and all the productivity and all the performance with that comes with doing emergency services. So whenever you call 111, invariably might be someone from my team actually picking up that particular call and making sure you get to the correct help for that. So that's currently my current role. That's probably on the backbones of quite a few roles. It's contact center based. Um, yeah, I guess a wee bit like how I kind of landed in this role was we had another one of the Bay Boys, Paul Rata, who used to tell me, he's like, "You wasted talent, Riggs, you should be acting." And I went, "Yeah, I could act." So I kind of used that acting prowess, used to come from a bit of a radio background. And I thought I'd put it into good use at being, in contact centers. It's kind of really helped me out. The acting part has specifically, it's quite interesting. Sometimes I act like I'm a team leader, and sometimes I'm naturally one. Hopefully, I can explain what that means later on. Um, but I guess my background is I've always been a bit of a performer, a bit of a joker. And I guess with me being a kind of a people leader now, I've got 18 staff that kind of report to me, that kind of do one-on-one calls. It's kind of helped me out in terms of, I guess, not making light, but adding more of a humor face to what we do, because what we do can be quite yeah quite challenging at times. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
Touching on that acting business. So you've actually landed a couple of side bit roles. You want to just share a little bit about that and how that came about?
So, truth be told, like my wife, our son was doing some pictures for a baby shoot, and so they go, "Look, we want to have a father in the shot. So could you get someone to play his father?" And at this time, I was like, "Look," and he was getting gigs, and I thought my time was up. I was like, I can't be acting anymore. Just that's kind of flown the coop. And so she sent it off to the agent, and the agent went, "Wow, man, he looks really great. It looks like he's really his father," because I am. So I wasn't really acting. And then from there, the agent started calling me up and getting me to audition for certain roles. I've got an amazing hepatitis C commercial. Um, Recently, a good experience I had was pretty much playing a soldier on the upcoming Avatar 2, currently in suspension at the moment, but we were due to do a gig there. And it felt kind of funny, like, I just hit my 40th birthday 2 years ago, going, "Oh, the acting and all that kind of stuff is kind of, that's something for the young kids. That's something for, Instagram famous people." And then when I was talking with the agent, because this is my side job is acting, and I feel a bit funny saying it actually, that I'm an actor. But I said, look, I'm getting all these roles. Shouldn't you guys be focusing on you see all the like tens of thousands of young people, doing that Instagram thing where this is me putting themselves out. They're probably like at the moment fast. And I said, why is it I'm getting these roles? And they go, well, you kind of fit a big demographic. Like there's 1,000 beautiful young actors. We want the people that look a bit withered, but can still pull it off. I'm like, okay. So I just came to the realization that I'm probably cheaper than Cliff Curtis and Taika Waititi. Who do you need? Taika Waititi, just get Reegan, he'll do it for $400, which is true. Probably would.
But
But
break
I
just
found it.
on these roles, mate. So are they roles where you're going to be in the credits, mate? Just enlighten us. Are they are you an extra? How does it work?
Yeah. You always when you've made it big is when you're the one waiting at the movie theater waiting for your name to come up. But yeah, we're going to be credited with it because it's a specific role for that. One of my shining moments was being sworn at on the set of Avatar 2 by James Cameron. It's quite interesting. I knew he was, he was, I believe the term's passionate. And I'm not sure if I can say it for this podcast, but he came up to me and I'm trying to load a gun in a particular scene, and he just stopped like 180 people on the set. Just goes, "What's that guy's name?" And he goes, "Oh, Reegan." And I was like, oh, "Okay." And he goes, "Reegan." It wasn't Reagan. It was Reegan. I'm not going to correct James Cameron. And he just goes, "Hey man, can you stop getting your gun because you're getting my move me?" And I was like, "All right." And he goes, "Right, roll it again." And that, it was that type of that type of environment, so it was kind of weird. Some people didn't actually laugh at.
Yeah.
Some people weren't used to getting that criticism from a, billion-dollar eccentric director, but apparently I was, and so they kind of kept calling me back, and so hopefully we'll be in the credits for that. And I guess my job was really, really flexible around that as well. So that was a bit of a bonus, The people I work for were quite understanding. And they just said, look, that's a good, so it's kind of good having that balance, kind of a break from the one-on-one job.
As far as your interests go, bro, that would have. I mean, obviously you're my brother. I know you really well. You very much a sci-fi geek. I think that's a fair comment. So that would have been right up your alley, almost like a dream job. Landing
It's
something like that.
I would do it for free. The fact that I got paid for it was a bonus, but it's the type of stuff you do for free. I kind of thought about it. People are like, well, I'm not going to get out until this role pays me that. Whereas for me, just the actual experience of it, just the actual, oh my goodness, I'm doing this, was enough for me. And don't get me wrong, we'd be doing like 18-hour days. 17 of those hours we're doing nothing, or 15 of those hours you're running up and down and pretending to be a soldier. But the experience itself was what I was after. And I know it sounds a bit funny, especially in a world where everything's kind of driven from a fiscal and financial point of view. I actually would have just done that for free, just for the sheer love of it.
So
Yeah.
I guess just backing the bus up a bit for some of the viewers, bro, just talking about your love for sci-fi. I'm probably just going to touch on like I said, I'm your brother, and I lived with you, through the early years, and you're always into this stuff. I remember just you'd come home from school. Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot here, but I remember just seeing you outside with your makeshift gun and just. Where did that love for sci-fi come from, and action and all that sort of stuff, bro? Was it?
Look, I'll be honest. I probably grew up at the best time when it
Some
came to
good
like
movies,
sci-fi movies. The year I was born was the year Star Wars came out. And Aliens was one of my favorite movies. I know, Mum. I mean, when you're 10 years old, you're not really supposed to be watching an R-rated movie. And I guess just for the audience back then, you actually had to rewind the movies. uh, it was a big VHS. For me, it was kind of escapism. Like for the likes of my brothers, they were quite physical, into rugby. But for me, that was kind of the world I would go into and come back out of, and I know I'd be okay for that. I had a couple of friends at high school that we were the boys at the back. I know I'm putting a couple of the bros on the spot here. Shout out to Dean. We'd be the guys at the back, just drawing, spaceships, drawing monsters, getting all to this, nerds at the time, and first ones to try the new video game out. First people to try and collect Transformers and all that kind of stuff. So I can remember someone telling me, true story actually. We had a careers day in 1992, and it was me and another friend there, know him quite well, MD, and we were sitting there 1992 at this careers day, and as they do, they go, well, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And this is 1992. I would have been what, 13, 14? And Mark and me, we said we want to make video games. And the teacher goes, stand up, you two. And he goes, this is a classic example of wasting time at high school.
Rough.
So 30 years down the track, Mark's making video games, and who would have thought it would turn into a $2.8 billion industry? And I always remember being told that, they're like, why are you wasting your time? And then Mark's like, hey man, I made it, I'm making video games. And I always remember that going, what an absolute legend, that's some good stuff. And from there I went, things aren't exactly that impossible, so to speak. And
No.
once I found that out, I went, oh yeah, that's fine. Even getting to my age, I say this with grace, because I know that there may be some older people out there, like, people like, once you hit 40, you should be winding down. You should be doing all this. But I've found that all the things I've wanted to
40.
achieve have all of a sudden happened around that time. I'm picking up acting gigs. I'm about to have my third son. This is all stuff you're supposed to do in the 90s. When I'm kind of hitting my stride, I'm doing quite well at my job. So it's been an interesting time when I look back on it. But the love of sci-fi, when I was outside pretending to do shooting, I was hoping I'd get the role of the Mandalorian, but yeah, obviously that went to someone else. They could always use a stunt double, but yeah, once I saw Tim Wheeler Morrison in Star Wars, and I noticed that all the stormtroopers were Polynesian, I was like, I might have a shot.
Bro,
Pretty sure I got a shot of this.
thanks for giving us a bit of insight to your love of sci-fi. So just going back to your childhood, bro, I guess you could say we didn't have, well, I suppose what is normal. Just talk to us about your childhood, living with solo mother, some of the religious beliefs that we live with, and how did that, or how has that affected and shaped the person you are today, bro? So just, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Great question, bro. I think, and I'll be honest, that's an awesome question, Faz, because if you would ask that 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said anything. Back then you didn't really talk about that, but I think the older and the wiser and the more open we've become, that question's a lot more prevalent, especially for us now. So I'll take a stab at it, and here we go. I guess for me, coming from a single mother who had 5 children in the house, providing for them, 2 of them mentally disabled, so they needed 24/7 care.
The other 3 were a bit of a handful too, eh, bro?
Oh, 2 of them were. One was the golden boy. That's why Mum would make me want to play piano. It was an interesting time. At the time, I didn't really know any better. Didn't know any better. I can remember, and I know our cousins might say something different, but I can remember at Christmas time, we'd be watching our cousins get some amazing stuff. They get a BMX, they get that, and we wouldn't be as fortunate as that. And us brothers would get something like a frisbee. That's a frisbee between 3 people.
Yeah.
And they would all have all this new cricket set, BMX, Transformers, and they'd be so angry that we were having the best time with this frisbee that they wanted it. And then it made me realize, I'm like, but you got all this flash stuff. So I didn't understand. So for us growing up, I didn't know any better, and it took me a while. It took me until I started becoming a teenager what that kind of meant. I can remember one of my closest friends when I was growing up said, we're different, Reegan, because you live in a state house. And I went, oh, okay, I don't know what that means, but that's fine. Later on, I realized that he didn't know what he was saying. He was just saying that what his parents said that I was at the time. And I can remember living down our street, and this, I can remember this, and I'm 42, and I can remember being 6 years old, walking to a friend's house and being the only one told to stand at the door because of that. And that was at a time in the 80s when, look, you didn't have cell phones, no one was recording anything, you couldn't call anything out. It was just like, look, you're brown, you stay at the door, whether I like it or not. That was the case. And that, I can remember that being my first taste of racism. Why am I standing at the door and everyone else is allowed inside? I just couldn't understand it. We'd all come out and we're all good mates after that, but I wasn't allowed inside. And I didn't understand it, and I was quite innocent at that stage. When I asked Mum, like, "Oh, you have to keep standing at the door," she kind of knew, but I mean, it was difficult for her to tell me. And as I kind of grew up and went through, primary school and intermediate, and then into high school, I realized that I was trying to fit in two worlds. And what I mean by that, and this sounds crazy, I'd try and act, Caucasian to hang out with my Caucasian friends, but
Which
I knew that
between the
when I was
two?
around yeah, but when I'd come home, especially our cousins, my older brother, and all that, I'd find, like when I was at my friend's house, I'd be like, "Hi, yeah, how are you? Yes, I can speak quite clearly. I can enunciate my words." And then as I got closer around to my whānau, especially I'd the old East Coast comes out a bit,
Yeah.
drop the old vowels, get the laugh starts to change. And then it was at that stage when I was around about 17, 18, where I was like, how am I able to do this and pretend to be these people and also pretend to be these people? So I went off to like Toi Whakaari acting school, and they said, "Reegan, why do you want to be an actor?" I said, "Well, I'm this person here and I'm this person here. I'm not an actor. I just want to find out which one of these is the act,
Mm.
so to speak." And they said, "You're a natural son." I'm like, that doesn't really help me. So I guess using that kind of acting experience where I would, for me, it's trying to make people feel comfortable who I'm around, trying to be that icebreaker and take care of that. And so that was kind of where that came from. And I can always hear Paula from the Bay as well going, "You need to be on TV." And I just thought, oh man, that's not good. But I'm starting to think he's right. It took 20 years, but I'm starting to think he's right.
Bro,
Um, that itself,
you
yeah,
touched
bro.
on some. If I can just go back, you touched on some pretty some really hard hitting points just with your corridor before. One around the racism, which at the time I guess at the time we kind of thought it was the norm, and I definitely can
Yeah,
relate to some of the examples you're talking to around not being in certain people's houses and just the way we were spoken to. Yeah, there was some. It was quite prevalent growing up, but it was also in some cases it was quite subtle. Like for the parents, it's not like they were calling us names, but they were making sure that we weren't coming in the house. So that was really tough.
yeah,
I've got lasting some memories today of that. Um, and you also touched on, sorry, bro, just some key points of having to play the two roles, and I was very much the same.
yeah,
I had my white friends, and I had my brown bros, and just flipping between the two, it used to get quite taxing too, trying to flip between the two, and I guess trying to please and appease everyone. Yeah, but no,
yeah.
sorry, carry on, bro.
When I was studying from a tertiary level and we were doing like all of this acting, and I was kind of immersing myself in my academics and all that kind of stuff, doing my media diploma, that switched on. And I can remember I used to come home to Napier. I'd come home back to the Bay. Um, Sorry, it's a Sunday. I used to come home to the Bay, and I'd know I was back in the Bay. There'd be a certain way you'd talk. We'd go out to the club rooms or anything. I mean, had some crazy times. And then I'd find that when I'd go back to Polytech, or when I'd go back to my course, they'd be like, "Where have you been?" Even now, my wife would be like, "Look, I'm just going back up to see the family. I'll spend the weekend with you, Faz, and I'll come home." And she goes, "You got a bit of that. You got a bit of that urban." And I go, "What are you talking about, babe?" There it is. There it is. So she can pick up on it. It sounds crazy. Over the years, I've become comfortable in either situation. It's really kind of helped me out professionally as well. Sounds crazy. Helps you out professionally because it allows you to kind of relate to a broader range of people
Yeah, and you
for
have to
that.
in this
And
day and age. The world's so diverse. Our communities are so diverse, and you've got to be
yeah,
able to adapt. And that's not around being two-faced. It's just knowing that when you're talking to this group of people, you might want to watch your P's and Q's, and then when you're with the bros,
yeah,
you're with the bros.
it's having a greater awareness and to a certain degree of respect for people.
Like mum, for
It
example,
comes
bro.
down to
We hold
yeah.
our tongue when we're around mum just because it's mum, and that's
Mum's very religious, and you can't just come in cussing and cursing in the house and do all that. So it definitely a respect thing in that regard. I mean, like I wouldn't be talking about yeah, I wouldn't be talking rugby league to some of the people at work, um, because they like golf or something like that. So it's finding that kind of common ground, which has allowed me to do well professionally as well. And it kind of comes back from I guess for me, a willingness to try and fit in with everyone. I found it to be quite difficult. There's certain things. I mean, like when I have a look, and this is, I'm not having a go here. When I have a look at how we were raised, technically we shouldn't have survived the '80s. We none of us had bike helmets. I mean, we all drank from the same hose. You wouldn't be able to get away with that today. Like, just imagine if that was happening. You'd be like, "What are you doing?" And
Unchlorinated
for
water too, by the way.
some unchlorinated water. For some reason, if the playground was a bit hard,
Mm.
um, you would have bark. Bark would break your fall. Like the hardest wood known to man would somehow break your fall. And I feel like graze on your leg because you fell off your bike, you walked that off. Whereas back in the day, if you had a fight with someone at school, it was dealt with there. I can remember recently, yeah, kids have a fight now, and it's like a lot of counselors and stuff. I'm not having a go at, whether it's right or wrong, but the difference in upbringings is quite interesting. I feel like, if I was to be completely honest, there's this kind of marginalization, great word, Reegan, uh, where people are like, oh, Reegan, are you a millennial or are you a boomer? Kind of have to fit into those categories now. I'm like, oh, we're actually Generation X. And they go, what? Generation X? I'm like, Tupac, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Biggie Smalls, you're welcome, by the way. MC Hammer Pants, you're welcome. Chatterings, you're welcome. No, you don't want that. Gosh, all the good stuff came from that. So I feel like we're like this forgotten generation,
Hey, bro,
and
you
like
touched
my
on,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry, we touched on religion a little bit. Um,
yes,
Maybe you want to just explain or talk to how that's influenced you, probably more early on because we were both, I guess, living it to an extent. But
yeah.
how did that affect you? And how is that? Do you still? Neither of us are active in the church, but obviously some of that stuff that was ingrained in us has an effect on us today and helps us and guides us in the way we live and make decisions. Fair call.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like being raised in a very religious household, like from day dot, like the church was very active within our house all the time. So it was always around us. And I guess from the church, and if I could be completely honest, uh, I got a lot of my public speaking and confidence from that. Especially at church, mum would be like, "You're going to learn that song by tomorrow, and you're going to sing it in front of 300 people." And you'd get that initial heart shock, going, "I don't really want to do that, but I guess I'm going to have to."
Yeah.
And I can remember feeling very uncomfortable, now to the point where I can be kind of comfortable, and
Mm.
I could talk to a group of people and have that confidence. I mean, you know what you know.
Yeah,
When it came to religion for me,
I definitely found, yeah, like that, like you, bro, like just reading the scriptures like every day was what we did. Like it's helped me with my literacy and reading stuff like that. Like just,
yeah.
some of those words in the scriptures, like get your tongue around those. And not that I took a whole lot of it
The
in, but I could read
interesting
it.
I can remember we never had a car. We'd always have hand-me-down clothes, and there was always this message of giving to the poor and the needy. And I can remember feeling really guilty, going, "Well, we're poor, we're needy," and then there would be other people that would be coming to church who weren't as well off as we were. And so, and it kind of, I guess, to a certain degree, the church kind of taught me to kind of humble myself a bit. Be appreciative for the blessings and everything that you do have in front of you. I can remember that being the case whenever we used to go out and help less fortunate members. I don't even like calling them that, but you could see how they were living and they were trying to maintain their faith, and it would make me feel a bit guilty that I thought that I had it bad because I didn't have the latest all-star Nikes or something. And so it was quite an interesting time for that. It did play a pivotal role in most of my decision making later on in life as well,
Mm.
in terms of the people I trust and the people I don't. I do say
Alex,
don't because that
yeah.
does come up.
Out of all the brothers, I think it's fair to say that you probably you held on to those beliefs for a bit longer as far as your practices. And for example, you went into drinking during your younger years. You kind of abstained for quite a long time compared to your peers. Was that a religious thing, a moral thing? What was your it just
Um, for me, it was kind of yeah, it was just morals. I was still in sci-fi, so so it's probably a bit of that. But yeah, I'll be honest. I was probably one of the weirder people that, when I say weird, we weren't weird, were we? Maybe
Different,
we
bro. You're
were.
different.
Yeah, one of those people that wouldn't go out to parties, wouldn't go out and drink. I can remember there'd be a couple of times I'd be the peace of mind guy. The boys would jump in the car and go, "We're going to go and do donuts in Anderson Park," and I'd be like, "Oh, just drop me off,
You're
just
the,
let me out here, please."
you're the voice of reason, eh, bro? You're the voice of reason.
Hey, Reeks, we're going to go to the club rooms, bro, and we're going to grab all these beers, and then we're going to do drag racing. I might just be quiet. I was kind of that guy. Didn't really want to push the envelope. Didn't want to go too far with it.
What I would
Didn't really
say,
want to be
bro,
in trouble with the police. Yeah.
what I can say, and what a lot of my friends and your friends used to really be just blown away, that the fact that, I mean, like you said, you weren't drinking, not till later on in your late teens, early 20s. But the fact that you could go to a party or a blue light disco, and all my mates used to think you're on something. They were adamant. The fact that you could go and have a good time without needing to get booze like the rest of us was it was admirable. Nobody was doing it.
Yeah, it was. I guess it was once again that kind of acting as well. Like being comfortable with the people I'm around. How far can I be myself? Yeah, I'll let it all hang out tonight. And so I guess I kind of got that from our upbringing. I mean, another big part was I didn't really want to disappoint mum. It's a true story. Didn't really want mum to be disappointed. Whether that was a good motivation or not. I can remember mum going, "Look, I'm proud of you," and so to a certain degree, I possibly put that pressure on myself to not slip up because I didn't want to, let mum down, as you do, which I guess later on in life, if you don't watch out for that, that can become a really big pressure. So I'm now all of a sudden kind of aware of that.
Nice.
So I'm sorry,
Hey,
guys.
bro, another thing I want to sort of touch on, I know this might be a little bit tough personal for you, but obviously, well, not obvious to people that don't know, but me, you, Jay, we were brought up without meeting or knowing our fathers or having any. Well, for you and Jay, anyway, not having any contact with your father, or you had a little bit of contact with your family
Yeah.
early on. How's that affected you, bro? And how do you does that
Wow.
tough question? I
Um,
don't know, bro.
well, for me, it's quite interesting because it's been a very, very long journey. So kind of as you know, when I was young, I always thought my father had passed on, which was easy to deal with. As I got into my teenage years, I found out, obviously once I started becoming free thinking, whenever that happens, that he was alive. And I can remember once we were due to meet our father, and I thought we were going to meet our father and ask some questions. And the backlash for that was we weren't going to meet him. He was in another courtroom, we were in one, and I thought that day I was like, okay, I've got some questions, and they were never answered. So I became, to be quite honest, after that quite bitter towards my father's side. Some of his side tried to reach out to me, but by then for me the damage was kind of done. Like, look, I've survived long without you. I don't need that. And it was very, very vindictive. And I went, so that's it, it's done. And I never thought about it again. I honestly didn't think about it. I was like, okay, so look, I haven't been raised by my father. It wasn't until you reconnected with your father, Farron, where I was like, oh, okay, this might be a bit of an itch. Even then, I was okay. The one time it really affected me, and I went, oh, okay, and I probably had some issues I need to resolve, was when I actually held my son for the first time. So being a father and I held my son for the first time, it suddenly dawned on me, and son's beautiful when he's not screaming next door. Sorry. Um, I just went, wow, this is a great feeling, and that was quickly overshadowed by how come I didn't get this. And I was like, and then it just brought up all these other emotions around that. And so, to a certain degree, most of the ambition and the drive in my life is to not be a failure. Should I ever about that is I didn't want to be a failure in front of should my should someone come knock and go, oh hi, we're fine. I'm like, well, I've done well without you guys, so look, that was it. It's a very dangerous way to drive yourself and get your ambition there, but that was the proving factor. I didn't want to. I basically, yeah. Look, in all honesty, I wanted, if I was to ever meet that side of my family or actually meet my father, I wanted to be proud enough to say I didn't need you, which sounds quite rough, but at the time, that's what it was. Whatever happened with him and my mother's between them, and I have to make peace with that. But I honestly thought I was over it. But then when I became a father, and then certain experiences I had with my sons, I realized kind of, I started getting a bit depressed about it because of all the things that I'd missed out on. And then I had to remember, you're a father now, so yeah. And always in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to be there for my sons, and that's a real kind of drive for that.
Yeah, I definitely
I'll share.
relate
I guess
with
I'll.
the if you're talking about, yeah, I mean, I was very similar when Taylor was born.
Yeah,
I had all these emotions. Most of them were just really good ones, joyful, proud. I got a daughter, but then I was very much like you said. I was like, man, how can somebody not want to be part of this? Like, now when you're holding your kid for the first time, like, how can you like just not want to be a part of this? Like, and that made me that stirred up some
yeah,
emotions too. Like, man, how can they just not want to be part of this? This is your
yeah.
child. Yeah,
It was interesting because we were coming out of the millennium at that stage, and by then it was still very much keep it to yourself, keep a bottle on those emotions, keep a bottle on those emotions. And if I was to be completely honest, we got it wrong a bit there, bros. I mean, we were taught, yeah, don't ever let them see you cry. You need to harden up. You'll be all right if you show them. And I actually took that as a mantra. I'm like, you're right. Yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be proud of myself, whether it's for good or worse. For me. But there was that drive that kind of wanted me to better myself, just to show people that I was worth getting to know. I can remember that being the case. Like, you would love to have gotten to know me, and having that in the back of my head, and like not wanting to be a failure, kind of,
yeah, like
was the driver.
this is what you missed out on, man. Your loss.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still good.
And I'm realizing now that that's probably not the healthiest way to look at it, but that's how I honestly felt. Whenever you get a teacher going, Farron, you're never going to be this. You're never going to be in the Warriors, or you're never going to be an All Black. You're never going to be the mayor of Napier. And then you go, all right, then you accept that challenge. So for me, no one said that, but it was one of those kind of challenges that I did have. I guess with my career now, it actually played a massive part in whether or not I wanted to proceed. So I guess I know this is a story I shared with you, Faz, around some of the first calls I take. So for 111 calls, you name it, we take it. Um, it could just be someone's fallen off their bike. It could be domestic violence, and look, it ranges all the way up. You name it, we've probably taken it. Mosque shootings are now up there with calls that we take, so we actually respond to those firsthand, and it kind of tears away at you. But I guess for me, a personal story that I had, and it made me question whether or not I could actually be effective in my job, was I think it was the third week when I was working at for the emergency services. I thought I'd seen it all. I'd done, a decade with the Ministry of Justice, working with indecent assault cases, really highly sensitive stuff, stuff where, you've got to really navigate that because there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of things. And if you get it wrong, it's catastrophic. So 3 weeks into working, I thought, yeah, that's fine. And I took a call one day. I know I've shared this with you, Faz, but it's for everyone else. And this guy just calls up and he goes, look, I don't know who I need, but maybe you can sort it out. I was like, well, what's going on, mate? I just found my son. He's hanging. And I just went, whoa, okay. So what do you reckon? And I can remember being absolutely gobsmacked, and within 3 seconds being pretty brutal in terms of my tone. I was just condescending. I could hear it, that type of tone. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, if you're going to be like that, here's what it is. And then as I'm trying to deal with the call, he just literally howled and broke down on the phone call. And within seconds, I realized that I was the bad guy. I'd finally found that call that was going to test all of my values. Couldn't believe it. It happened to me on the day. And I remember going home to my wife. I'm saying, I don't think I can do this role. She goes, what happened? I said, for the want of this, I said, I got triggered today. She goes, what do you mean? I said, some guy called up and this happened. She goes, well, explain what happened. I said, all of a sudden I thought about if I was a father, and I am, what if that was my son, you know? I mean, and then it leads to all those other kind of emotions, well, would my father kid if he found me, and all of this repressed stuff that I'd kind of bottled down literally just came up in seconds, and I had to kind of come clean with it. So I had a word to my boss going, hey, I had this call and this is the effect it had on me. And my concern is I won't know how to, should this happen again, I hope I'm going to be okay because I still want to remain professional. I'm still working there. I actually use that as one of the stories for training.
Mm.
That when you take on our particular role for emergency services, you'll never know that one call where you're going to be like, whoa, that's me. This is everything about me. And it may or may not happen, but part of me is to try and build a bit of resilience into my staff. And resilience has always been a big thing for me in terms of training, in terms of values to have. And
So,
it's
bro,
taken me, yeah, bro.
given the nature of your work and you're experiencing those similar things like that on a daily, what are some of the things you do, like when you get home? How do you leave that? I mean, it's easy to say be professional, work's work, home's home, but what do you actually actively do to make sure that is the case and you're not bringing that shit home? Because that could screw with you if you let it. Besides a
It,
couple of bottles of wine, bro, what do you do to what do you do to sort
uh,
of try and separate the two? Because it has to be important.
If we were to go back approximately a year, well, probably not a year, probably a year and 2 weeks, we went through one of the most horrific historical events in New Zealand. So we had the mosque shootings. Now, for me, I'll use that as an example of a hard day at work, if we could actually be okay to say that. And it was quite interesting because uh, we we just got through it on the day. Like, we were fielding call after call. We had people calling us from inside the mosque, and then we would hear gunshots, and then they would just we would assume hang up. We would like to think that, but we don't know. So when you're talking first responders, we're literally placed in the mosque with people. When someone's going through domestic violence, we are in the house talking to them. Um, that's on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes the stuff that we go through, like that particular day, I can remember going home and wanting nothing more than to be back at work with my staff just to make sure they're okay.
Mm.
After that wears off, and when I say wears off, I was like, okay, we need to put this in place. We need to contact police, and we do all of that. You just stop. You just stop and you break. You slowly break down. And I remember my wife being there, best friend, and she just goes, "What's the matter?" I go, "Look, I'm not sure if I can actually talk to this about you. The stuff I've heard and I've had to listen to just for the sake of maintaining the security of this country. It's been pretty full on." Pretty full on, mate. We had to listen to calls where this was happening and that was happening, and it was crazy. We're trying to piece together all these events because it was all done digitally, um, and it was kind of weird because sometimes I'm aware of what happens when I shut my wife out. She's absolutely amazing. She's my best friend. She won't broach the issue. She won't go, "Well, can you just get over it soon?" She knows sometimes I need time. She will know when I need time before I do.
Mm.
If
She's
I've
good.
had a bad day.
She's a good woman,
Yeah,
Steve.
she's really good. Like I'll come home and I'll just go, "Hey," and she'll just know. She go, "All right, look, I'm just going to take the boys out for a bit of a drive. You have a bit of time to yourself," and that's me going, "Oh, thanks." So she's got my back in that regard. And then I'll come home. She goes, "Hey, we're home. Is everything okay?" "Yeah, we're fine. Thank you, babe." It's just having that time, and I guess that's important for my job. We're subjected to, well, the most horrendous things that can happen to Kiwis all over Aotearoa. So we kind of need an outlet. Yeah, sometimes a bottle of wine's good, but sometimes absolute silence, just sitting next to your wife watching some doco about whales, be the best conversation you have.
What about
And for me,
oh, sorry, you carry on, bro.
yeah, for me that's kind of important. Reason being is I could easily bring that aggro home to my sons. And, when dad's had a bad day, the wick is short, you're short tempered. Can you just put that away? And I'm like, right, I'm there. But she's an absolute trooper. She reads that and she just goes, right, we're going to go upstairs. You get yourself, you chill out. And you just relax. Those are on the most heavy days where something horrendous has happened. We've had to have a look into it. I'm not saying it happens every day, but I have to be prepared that that's the case given the nature of the job I do. But for
Workforce
me,
point of view, bro. Just in regards to your workplace, what do you guys have in place for your staff? Because obviously, what supports are there for them?
we've got a lot of support. So that's one thing I will say about my employer is they really take it seriously. It's the employee first, and then it's dealing with the staff. To be and I need to be completely honest. When I do my training for my new staff, I've got to be mindful of what I'm doing. I'm asking them to go into very hostile environments, pull them, act, focus, and do a professional job, pull themselves out and be okay. Um, and that in itself can be, quite difficult. So when we go through our screening process, we're quite honest and open about that. That's the hardest part, is the resilience part. We train a lot around resilience. We train a lot around support. We have a lot of support professionally from EAP services as well. So there's a lot of support mechanisms in place. More recently, the support from our group as a whole, where we all get together and we just chill out or just talk about normal stuff, is a massive support for our team. Currently, what's happening now? So I'm quite aware now that this is unheard of. Once again, we're at another part in Aotearoa's history where this is the first time this has happened. But I can honestly say with my team, the resilience and how they show up to work is a big thing. Hey, boss, we're here today. Oh, what's the go? I'm like, yeah, let's just jump on and we'll do what we do. And that's the important part, is we try and focus about how you show up to work. There's a massive mantra where people go, you need to bring your full self to work. And I know, I get what they're saying there, but sometimes it's hard to leave your work self from home. You could get home and still have that ticking over in the day. And so we have to find those filters. My favorite filter, and look, whether it's good or bad, is I catch the train into Wellington town all the time. And I've timed it to around about 24 minutes when it's not running late, which is enough for 3 songs on the old Spotify. So depending on the day, yeah, music and just having that time to just be quiet and be alone with yourself kind of helps. It's a filter. Yeah, it's kind of a self-isolation. That's important because I need to switch off work and switch on dad. Don't want my sons to see, that side or anything, because it can be a real thing. Sometimes you'll give 80% to your job and you come home with 20% left for no one. Type of thing. So for me, it's trying to give 100% to either, but also pull it back in between. But yeah.
Thanks, bro. Hey, just, I guess retracting a bit, well, not retracting, just going back to, I just want to briefly touch on when you're sort of those early stages of moving to Wellington, and sort of that time of your life. Again, that was a bit of your parts there, they were a little bit difficult. Yeah, you went through a relationship breakup, and then there was a period there where the lines probably got a bit blurred, and you're hitting the piss a bit with the boys. Talk us through those years, bro.
Crikey, yeah. I'm
going
to be honest, those were good years. Those were great years. So I was blessed with a midlife crisis that came when I was only 24. I mean, let me explain. So what I mean by that is, all of a sudden found myself alone in a city. And look, bro, I'm going to be honest, I felt a bit too proud to come home to Napier. I didn't want to feel like I'd failed. So I decided to stick it out down here. I didn't realize the isolation that it would put me in, being away from my supports, being away from whānau. The one support that I'd had down in Wellington had just broken up. So,
sorry, bro, just to provide a bit of context, you're in a relationship for, was it about 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, it was around about 7 years. We moved down to Wellington to be closer to her work. I started working, then it just kind of fell apart. She moved on. She found someone else that was hard for me to deal with, as much as I was trying to man up and deal with it. I didn't, and I guess the dangerous part about that is when you don't have a support network around you or people to catch you, you feel invincible because you can't hurt anyone. So you go out and you do reckless stuff, pretty reckless stuff. Well, what's the point? It's just me down here. I'm not hurting anyone but myself. So I'm going to have some fun, or I'm going to try and get through this. It's pretty reckless.
Dangerous mindset, eh, bro?
Very dangerous mindset. And when you surround yourself with people like, yeah, they're all party mode, it's not a good thing. I was lucky enough to meet my future wife at this time, and also my best man. My best man really helped me out. He was. It was pretty good. Like, we were pretty close bros, and that's why he was the best man. But he was able to pick up on stuff that I couldn't say. and just chill a bit and just go, all right, bro, let's just sketch you out. He could just read certain signs that I couldn't. That's why he was the best man. He just go, hey man, we're just gonna go and play a game of touch, or come on, we're gonna go to the gym, and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do that, man. I want to stay at home with a bottle of vodka, listening to Boys to Men, because that's healthy. Um, but that was kind of my mindset at the time, and it took him to pull me out of that. And then when I met this girl at the time, who ended up becoming my wife, I found it quite easy to talk to her, and for the first time, I didn't have to pretend to be someone else. If that kind of makes sense, I wasn't trying to impress her. I wasn't trying to be a great mate for him. I just had to be myself, and that was good enough for these people. And that's probably why I'm with her today, and I've married her, and that's probably why he's always going to be my best man. I'll always have his back, is because those people never asked anything more of me than just to be myself. At that time, I didn't know what I was at the time. I thought I was in a broken relationship. I was this useless person. I couldn't do all of this despair. So it's real easy to succumb to that. But they kind of literally, through just being themselves and me being allowed to be myself, kind of pulled me out of it.
Yeah, I got to admit,
And
bro,
then,
when I first met her, I didn't know what to think of her. It took me a while to figure her out. I thought you guys were just polar opposites, and those were my first thoughts. Yes, as I've seen you guys over the years, man, you guys have just got this synergy, like you said. It just works, mate. Just works. It's pretty cool.
it's weird. Like, I'm on a keto diet. She's vegetarian. People are like, well, how does that work? I'm like, was real easy. I eat the meat. It's steak, eggs, and chips. I have the steak and eggs. She has the chips. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it is kind of interesting. She comes from a pretty much middle-class background, and I come from estate housing. So people always look like, how do you guys make it work? We make it work, and I've realized one thing. How we make it work is we don't try and pretend to be anyone else other than ourselves around each other. For that, except for when it comes to our sons, and I'm like, are you angry, mum, right now, or am I happy, dad? Sometimes you get that wrong, and the kids feed off it. So that's been our new challenge. But with B, with us, we just people that you can just naturally be you around. You're not living up to anyone's expectations, or the pretentiousness of something. The boss walks in the room, you got to walk a certain way. These people, you want to impress them, so you got to say certain things. With my wife, I guess my best friend, it's just always been, she pulls me back a bit too when I think I'm a bit too good. She's like, you're not that good, come on now. I'm like, all right, yeah, it pulls me right back down to earth. I'm like, I'm amazing, I'm an Avatar too. She's like, it's okay, let's see how Avatar 3 goes. It just grounds me, gives me that grounding.
Good woman, bro.
It's an important thing to have. But yeah, it's been pretty
Um,
great, bro.
Kids, bro. Now, obviously, you got a couple of boys, beautiful kids, and a third one on the way. I got to admit, there was a stage here. I just didn't think you were going to actually have kids. You probably, I guess, as far as conventional family, probably a bit later on in the piece. But how has fatherhood been? How's it changed your life? Talk
Um,
about fatherhood, bro.
for me, and I guess it goes back to kind of everything I said about my upbringing. It's been extremely interesting not having a father figure there. I quickly lead to a bit of doubt, like, damn, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Is anyone, yeah, normally,
No manual, bro.
normally,
Hey?
yeah, there's no manual, and normally you'd have, your father there to go, it'll be okay, mate. Your boys were like that or something as well. So there's this constant fear and this doubt that I'm doing it wrong. Am I overcompensating? Am I being the nice father? Do I need to be firm right now? And all that kind of thing. And so to me, it's just I've kind of summed it up as just to make sure my sons see me at my best all the time. If I'm not feeling too good, or if I'm not good company to be around, I've got to recognize that. Given the job I do as well, there will be times where I'm like, oh, that's taking a bit out of me, and then they'll be like, do you want to play touch, dad, or do you want to throw a stick around, dad? And I just won't be. And so it's helped me pick those moments and really appreciate the moments where I'm at my best. All I want is to have my son see their dad as the best. And to do that, I need to be at my best all the time when I'm around them, whether it's being firm or letting them know that they can't do that, or, letting them know it's okay to fall down and get back up, to
Now,
keep going on.
you guys, now with your oldest boy, Tyke, you guys got thrown a wee curveball there pretty early on
Yeah.
with the them being type 1 diabetes. So how how has that been, bro? Like,
Oh,
just you basically had to change everything the way you did everything, didn't you? Once you found out the news.
it was kind of crazy. Like I know I joked about it before. We got a vegetarian in the house, we got a keto person in the house, and we got a type 1 diabetic. So we got pretty much 4 diets happening simultaneously in the one household. So when our oldest got diagnosed with type 1, and I was a bit blasé about it. And I was like, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? So he's just not allowed to have chocolate. I was ignorant, is a good term.
Bit more than
And they
that.
said,
Bit
no,
more to it
sir,
than that, eh?
from this point on, he's going to have an immunodeficiency particular disease, and he will require this type of care 24/7. So what that meant, and I realize it now, was it changed everything for us. It changed our eating habits. It changed what a good night's sleep felt like. We had to monitor our son. You can't give him this, you can't give him that. And I was like, well, can't we just give him a tablet every day and then that's it? And because of my ignorance, I was told off quite severely. They said, Reegan, here's the severity. You could wake up in the morning, your son's happy as Larry, and by 4 o'clock, he can be dead. And so when they said that to me, I was like, right, okay, that's what this means.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's when and that they literally said that to me, and that's when the hammer dropped. I got a bit emotional. I was like, what? And then my wife's like, I've been trying to tell you, this is not something you can harden up through, just walk it off, son. Can't you just take Panadol? So that ignorance quickly led to a bit of denial, I think. I was probably in denial. I was like, there's no way. Um, the person that's actually helped me through the whole thing is my wife. She took everything. It's quite amazing what she does. Even now that I'm on a keto diet, she's like, you might not want to have that sausage. It's got 3.4 grams of carbs in it. She counts carbs, better than me, better than any nutritionist I've ever known, because her job is to keep our son alive. And part of that's nutrition, it's timing. She's the one that gets up in the night times. Twice every night just to check and make sure his blood sugars are okay, because he can actually go into dangerous areas then. She's the one taking him there, and I don't think
Uh,
I'd be able to do this without her, but I need to, pick
How's
up a
it?
bit
How
more.
how is it now, bro? Like I remember early on, and I'll share a little bit. I think early on when he was diagnosed, you guys had a trip back home, and for me personally, I was just blown away by the amount of care required just on a daily basis. The scanning, the checking the bloods, the all the macronutrients of his meals were like to the T. I was just blown away of how. Like, have you got a bit of a system now? Does it get easier? Like,
Um, it does get easier. It gets a lot easier. It was very uncomfortable for us at the time because we didn't know anything. We didn't know. Now we can do it with our eyes closed, so to speak. I'm not being arrogant around that. We do. Okay, let's check it. Okay, all right, you're dropping. We're going to do this. We're going to administer this. And now, if you were to tell me that around about 4 years ago, I would have freaked out at the amount of knowledge. But the learning curve is quite quick and swift.
it has to
The
be, eh?
way I kind of look at it, yeah, the way I look at it is, these are non-negotiable. They're mandatory. When you put your kids in the car, you have to put the seatbelt on. When I give my son food, I have to check the insulin. You have to do that. It's non-negotiable.
Life or death
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like you could put your kids in the car and not have their seatbelt on and risk it, and everyone will call you a bad parent, which is true. Or you could just go, right, this is what I need to do. We do it now without even thinking. We'll have meals. It's just there. It's just like putting a seatbelt on and off. Look, I've got to give credit to my wife. Like every few days, we're putting 2-inch needles into
Wow.
insulin for a machine. We're monitoring his blood glucose every time, fingerprints, the whole 9 yards. And the reason being is because we want this to feel normal to him.
Mm.
We want this to feel like it's okay. We've got this. This is how it's supposed to be. Normally, when it comes to type 1, it's a bit of misinformation out there with anyone that may have, existing illness with their children, or something that's detrimental. As parents, you just, especially when it's young, whether it's spina bifida or it's something else, my heart kind of goes out to all those parents. When I was in denial, and I reached out to a couple of parents on the Kiwi Dads page, the multitude of parents, the multitude of fathers that came through and just said, "You got this, bro. Trust me." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure what to do." And they go, "Oh, you'll be fine," and you will be. It's just something that we live with now. There are days where you get it right, and there are days where you're like, I've missed it a bit. Um, the one thing it has done for us as a family is appreciate every single day. Every single day. We wake up in the morning, we check him, and if he gets through, it's a great day, and we know each and one of those days where it was great. So you don't take any time with your children for granted. That's all of them, by the way. But yeah,
You
it's
touched
been
on
really good.
you touched on the various diets within the household, bro. I know you're pretty well versed in the keto diet, and you've been doing it for a few years now.
I'm a master. Yeah, yeah.
So, talk to us about that, how that transition has been, and because there's a lot of, like you mentioned, there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of road science out there. But I
Yeah.
know for you, it seems to work well for you. Just, do you want to talk me through it? What's the normal day of eating?
Um. So
Are you really really
it's
strict with it?
oh,
Yeah, how does it work for
very
you, bro?
much. So this came about out of my fear of having carbohydrates in the house due to type 1. So once our son was diagnosed, I changed my diet.
Okay.
But I needed to find something that was sustainable for me, and I wanted to kind of maintain my weight. And so they had a look at this, what was called the Atkins diet at the time.
Sure heard of that. Yep.
Depending on what show you watch on Netflix, that there's always, this diet, the vegan diet's the best one. No, the keto diet's the best one. No, there's a sunshine diet. You just need sunshine. Waiting for that diet to come out. So for me, I didn't go into this kind of half-heartedly. I wanted to get the science behind it. And with my son having type 1 diabetes, that became a lot easier to understand in terms of how my body produces, its energy source. So on any given day, and it's quite interesting when you're on a keto diet, people are like, how can you eat that? That's not healthy. But if you understand your body and how it produces your energy, it is. So for me, it would be like 2 kgs of meat a day. Um, when we go shopping, even now, it's quite
I
difficult
see.
to go shopping given the
You
current
you get
lockdown.
you get through the eggs, bro. I know that much. You can put some eggs
Yeah,
away.
so we get around about there's 20 eggs in a tray. I get around about 6 trays. And people go, that can't be healthy for you. But it's understanding your body. I've been doing it now for like 3 years and just maintaining the same average weight between 80 to 85 kgs. And it's primarily based off an understanding around my son's diet. We don't put anything in our mouth unless we know what it is. That's what changed for us, which is good.
So what, bro?
My
Sorry, pre-keto, what sort of weights? Well, what was the heaviest weight you just sort of can recall being at?
um, to be quite honest, I weighed a bit lighter, but I was a bit more bloated.
Okay.
If that kind of makes sense. The
But,
heaviest I did get up to was 89, but on keto I started to drop the weight and maintain the mass because of the protein that was in there.
yeah, cool. And it's just a lifestyle for you now, bro. It's workable. Yeah.
Um, I do it without thinking now. People are like, are you on the keto diet? I'm like, well, it's not a diet. A diet feels like it's something that's finite. Not to have a go at anyone like, I'm on this 8-week program. I'm like, oh, I'm on the life one, See these people, I'm on a 2-week diet. I'm like, well, what happens after 2 weeks? Is there a 4-week diet followed by a 2-day diet? Um, it is the type of diet for me, I guess. The common misconception is, oh, you can always have a cheat day. You can just gorge yourself on chips and that. And it's not really that. So if you just, I guess, for an analogy, if you got a car, and then all of a sudden you put 91 in it, and then on the weekend you put diesel in it, guess what happens to the car? Yeah, it does work, yes, but it takes a while to get it back to 91. It's similar to that. I know people just go, you need a cheat day, Reegan, you need a cheat day. And I go for the worst example possible. I'm like, well, I'm married for 6 days, so can I have a cheat day on the 7th?
Yeah.
So just seems a bit weird. But for me, it's actually helped out, knowing the lifestyle that we live now. It's sustainable for me. I know some people say, well, it's not healthy. I guess I'm not trying to say I'm the live embodiment of healthy, but I haven't felt like this in probably a decade. So just getting rid of carbs from a diet. I'm preaching now, aren't I?
It's funny those
So,
people that say that bag it and say it's not healthy are the same people that are eating shit and sugar every couple of hours and spiking their insulin all
yeah,
day long.
you're
It's like,
absolutely right, Faz. I mean, like when you do a press up, there's always that one guy in the background who's got a bottle of coke going, you need to lower your back. You're like, let's see you lower your back, mate. There's always that person. Um, Yeah, especially in New Zealand, we're a heckler culture, eh? We just like to put our 2 cents and, he should have passed it. If someone's watching an All Blacks game, they're the best player on the field. I really should have passed it. We love to do that. And it comes out in all facets. When it comes to diets, you
Touched
shouldn't have
on
gone out with that girl.
you touched on exercise there, bro. So with the keto, so do you accompany that with sort of exercise regime? What do you sort of do? What's your
Yeah,
go-to
so for
most
me, it's
days?
when the gym's open, it's 6 days a week.
Yep.
First thing in the morning, when the gym is open. Given the current lockdown, we've had to actually freestyle that. So my current resistance is putting my sons on my shoulders,
Put
doing
that on
squats with
social media.
them, putting them on my back. Just to add that extra resistance. Um, I know some people are like, you should put this on social media. I don't want to be one of those guys like, oh, look at this hero, but I am amazing. I
Yeah.
don't see anyone else doing that. So I guess I was the first.
So,
There
bro,
was it,
just
but it's
sorry, mate. As we're going to wrap up soon, but I just want to just given the current climate and what's happening with lockdown and sort of how are you guys?
yeah.
How's the family? How are you managing this? What have you guys had to do
Um,
differently? How's it affected the boys, if at all? Talk me through some of that.
good question. So like literally, we're in day 9 now, I believe, for lockdown. But before we went into it, we were kind of given a bit of a brief heads up in terms of what that meant for us as a number one, my job. So my wife's high risk currently at the moment. She's pregnant, and our son's type 1 diabetic, so it puts him in the high risk category to
How far
contract
in is
this
she, bro?
virus.
Sorry, B. How many?
Due in June, June, but we keep this lockdown up. She'll probably have it next week. Um, but um, for us, what kind of changed is that support, and my heart kind of goes out to people who are isolated from that support. So, for instance, partners, the people that you are going to stay with are now the people in your bubble. That can pay a bit of a toll on itself. So, the weirdest part for me is when the rest of New Zealand is sitting at home, waking up, going, "How am I going to entertain myself?" I have to try and pick myself up um, and go to work, and there's a genuine fear for me of like, okay, what if something happens at work and we have a case there? I'm stuck there.
Mm.
I can't come home to my family. And I kind of face that every single day we've been in this lockdown. It's quite scary. Like whenever I give my sons a kiss goodbye and I say goodbye to my wife in the morning, I go, geez, if something goes, ill at work or we were working or here, I might not be able to see you guys for X amount of weeks or 14-day stand down period. So I have to kind of be really, really, I guess, realistic around that. And it's proven to be quite an interesting time, I guess, for us as a family because I know you can hear them out there, but the time that I have when I get home is a lot more precious. Now it's, especially when I come home and the ability to come home. When I come home, I've got to take everything off. I've got to wash it. I'm one of the few people that are on the road at 6 in the morning going to work. Just feels bizarre.
How's it
And then
going
when
to
I come
work?
home,
How's it been? I mean, you're probably getting used to it now, but it must have been pretty weird those first few days going into the CBD and it's a ghost town. Was that a bit
um,
eerie the first few days?
it still is. It still is, brother. I mean, like apparently, well, I've been reading some kind of articles like wild animals are being seen over in Wales. You've got crazy peacocks showing up in cities. Recently in our city, there's been this. I thought it was an extinct species called joggers, but apparently they're back in full force. They've just come out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, everyone's a jogger.
Okay, I think it's a
Not to
silent J, bro. Silent J.
Shocking, yeah.
Jogging.
But for me, it's been quite interesting. The one thing that I can attest to, I guess, given my job, is we were prepared for the worst in terms of how Aotearoa would respond to this. I'm kind of happy we're okay. We're okay. I'm not too sure how much I can say that from a business point of view, but or a statistical point of view. But for someone that works the front line, being prepared for what this lockdown could be for Aotearoa, people are generally okay. When you walk out your doors and you see families actually walking. One thing I have noticed is that dads are having a lot more time with their kids,
Mm.
and their kids are loving it. That's a true story. Like the dads that can be around their children, I should say. So it's a bit of a blessing, I guess for me, when I came home, I take my sons for a bit of a walk, and we try and go from there just to give mum a break, and then that's me resetting for the day. I'm just glad I'm home and I didn't get stuck or I got called upon.
Now, bro,
I know
without
when I
sorry, without putting you on the spot here, I know you're in the inn, and you're probably privy to some information that a lot of us aren't into. And I'm not asking you to delve into your treasure chest of secrets, but realistically, 4 weeks, is, is that a realistic
um
time frame given everything that's happened? I just think for me
it's
personally, I just think it's a little optimistic,
it's
but
dependent. I would say it's a very dependent time frame. 4 weeks was allowed for the virus to manifest itself, treat those cases, and then hopefully move on from that and then kill the virus off.
mm,
What's holding it back and what may prolong the lockdown is our inability to listen, being quite stubborn. I know you hear cases around people still catching up for touch games. There are certain towns that just go, well, we're not going to do that, and just continue to do it, and they become prime targets. Um, the severity of it is such that if we all did it from day one, it would work. I can understand though from Aotearoa, like, what we're asking Aotearoa to do, if not the world, is unheard of.
it's a big
Stay in your homes, I know I had a couple of friends catching up, they go, oh, it's just like doing home D rigs. I'm like, never done that, bro, so I can't really relate to that. um,
take your word.
yeah. Yeah, it's just like doing a lag. I'm like, well, I haven't been to prison, so I can't really use that as an example. But it's for me, it's we're not we're not fighting the virus at this stage. We're fighting the fear.
And people,
What's going to
yeah,
change? Am I still going to have my job? Goodness gracious! I mean, what's going to happen after this? I mean, is everything going to go back to the way it was before? I mean, how are they going to integrate this? There's this uncertainty and this fear. The virus is almost like a psychic to it. Yes, the virus is very deadly. Yes, I'm not saying it's not, but it's this uncertainty around what's going to happen after all this. Is this going to be the way to be managed? So when it comes to whether or not the lockdown will be extended, the writing may be on the wall. If we fail to try and do those things, then the answer is yeah, it'll probably continue on a wee bit longer. Um, what that does is it incites a frustration. Oh, how come I can't do my thing because Farron wants to have a picnic with his family? It may lead to that, and that's where you will find some of the cases coming through. Um, and I firmly believe that we have to kind of address it together. One thing I will say about the lockdown is it's the massive equalizer.
mm,
Absolutely even playing field everywhere.
absolutely. It doesn't matter.
Cars, transport, doesn't matter if you're
Race, wealth, status doesn't matter. We're all
matter,
in this
yeah.
in the same boat, man.
That's it. And it's done a multitude of things like the people that are most fearful. Like if you got a lot of money to lose, then that's it. Someone actually said it, and I said it at work. Actually, you can always teach poor men to be rich, but it's hard to teach rich men to be poor. Times like this, we're going to be okay. People are like, what about the poor people? I'm like, this is what it is normally for them. To be completely honest, they'll be
Mm.
fine. It's when other people need to adjust their lifestyle, and so we're seeing those cracks starting to show. But yeah.
Just quickly, from a working point of view, bro, have you seen an increase in sort of domestic violence rates as far as the calls coming through? Or yes, no?
Um, the answer to that is no, no more than usual. It's normally quite tame. I know that, and hopefully I won't get in trouble for saying that, but this will just be my own opinion. So there's your disclaimer. My own opinion is this: I have seen no evidence to suggest that domestic violence is on the rise, given my position. You might have certain media outlets.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got to be careful now, who would just say, oh, it's on the rise. But from someone that's on the front line, I haven't seen it. It's actually been quite positive to a certain degree, no more than usual.
Cool.
Um, and I guess the other thing I'm battling is media perception
Mm.
versus public perception. Sometimes the media go, domestic violence might be on the rise. Might be. There are a few people who can actually possibly answer that for you straight off the bat, but no one wants it. Because it's easier to control with fear than it is to control with love. Hey, we should be focusing. My point is this, and this is a personal point. We should be focusing on the positives from this. Yes, we're in the situation, but I think that needs to be one of those things that we need to focus on. Is definitely the positives.
And there's plenty of light at the end of the tunnel in all this, bro. Like for me personally, just spending some more time with mum and my sisters, learning new things, just having to change the way we do things. Hey, bro, just quickly, my battery's gonna die very soon. But if there's just anything you want to finish with, bro, and just from a Cobus point of view, from a humanitarian point of view, what would you like to say to all the millions of people watching this podcast?
For all those subscribers. So look, for me, for someone that actually goes out and does essential work, I'd have to say we've actually got this, Aotearoa. We're going to be fine. And this is from someone whose job is to see, to be quite honest, the worst. But currently, all I can see, especially from my staff, from the people around me, from New Zealand as a whole, we are getting through this. It's teaching us, humility and patience. I think those are great lessons from this. I'm not saying that I would do this all the time, and this is not how we should have learned. But the true nature of what we do. So look, just hang tough. Faz, thanks for taking care of mum and the girls. I'll hold it down here. My wife's got the whole home front, and I'll just take care of the rest of the country.
Hey, thanks, bro. Thanks for jumping on. Just before we leave, just a little thing I want to do with some of the guests that come on. I just want to do a quick fire round, just to give us a little bit more of an in-depth of what you're up to. Okay, so first off, KFC Macca's.
KFC.
Marvel DC.
DC. Do they do comics as well? It's Marvel. It's Marvel, brother.
Okay, Jordan.
I know the next one. The next one is Star Wars over Star Trek. That's the question. Keep going.
Jordan LeBron.
Oh, I'll have to say Jordan for the era that I grew up in.
Nice. Steak and cheese, bacon on egg.
Steak and cheese. Can't beat those dollar ones from Georgie Pie back in '98.
Nice work, bro. Tangi boil up.
Boil up.
Yeah.
Boil up. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, bro. Nice. I had some others here. Can't remember. But anyway, thanks again, bro, for jumping on.
All right, bro. I'll give you a quick 3 ones there, Faz. If you had one shop that you wish was open right now in lockdown that you could go into, what would it be?
Oh, mine would be my gym, bro.
The gym. Yeah, I hear.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. I'm
all good.
Improvise here. Cool, bro. Hey, thanks for jumping on, bro. Much love.
All right. Have a good one, brother. You too, brother.